let's get started on how to set effective OKRs. The first part for preparation of setting your OKRs is I would reflect on your company's mission, the role your team in accomplishing that mission. Deciding a few objectives that will contribute towards your organizational mission. What is going to actually help get closer to the ultimate objective? Once you have your company's objectives in mind, you want to start creating team OKRs in a collaborative environment, right? So we talked about using sticky notes as a design process, or online tools like Miro and Mural that allow you to create virtual collaboration spaces, and that is super powerful in getting the team to share the information and proceed. Now, some questions to help you kind of process here in terms of your preparation. Ask, what value do you want to achieve for your customer? What does that value look like in action? How do you measure success towards achieving that value? For most organizations, OKR solves the challenge of implementing and executing strategy in a way that's clear for these employees. So this framework is super powerful in helping answer questions about value creation for the customer, value creation for your clients, whether it's in the sales process or in the customer actual engagement and service process. OKR is a framework, but it's also a learning process. So it often involves a fundamental shift in how people think about and measure the work they do, moving away from a focus of output towards a focus on outcomes. Because outcomes have a lot of, they're typically lag measures. They're things that we see once we do. We see that people will focus on a lot of the different initiatives, which can be our output. So the initiatives are what help us get to the outcomes. And so we end up creating both lag and lead measures. Once you have a company's objective in mind here, you're able to go through all this and you're able to actually create empowering goals that allow your team to make decisions towards it. When you're choosing objectives, you want objectives that are ambitious. They're not easily just achieved, but can still be achieved and rewarding to the team members if you push and if you have some growth. Given that objectives set the direction like a destination on the map, objectives alone shouldn't be technical or contain metrics. They should be specific on what you want to achieve because they're quarterly, but they shouldn't be numerical. Remember, you want to align the objectives all the way down from the company top down. They must be clear, concise, and if you have to stop and breathe for a while you're reading your objectives, you're probably overcomplicating it. Have fun with it, right? Objectives should fit your organizational culture. Use slangs, internal joke, even profanity if that fits your culture. Use certain themes that align with what your company accomplishes for customers, right? Fitting it into your culture could harness more buy-in and motivation. Now, weekly activities and tasks are the initiatives, and these should support the objectives towards that. So if you find yourself coming up with, as you're writing your objectives, coming up with almost tasks to do, put them in another little parking lot, another little pile, and note those as your initiatives. Now, some examples here of objectives. It could be the top company to work for in Canada, right? If you want to work on culture and HR and all that. Or optimize sales funnel to close more deals in less time. Okay, there you go. So everyone about sales funnel. Create a more goal-oriented culture. Empower our support team to be more self-sufficient. Right, there's some objectives and OKRs that you could be working towards. So we also want objectives to follow at some level the SMART goal philosophy. This is a philosophy that many people have heard and many people have used over time, and it doesn't perfectly align with OKRs. They are actually separate methodologies. But I like to kind of remind us of the benefits of SMART goals because a lot of people are used to them, and see how they fit into our SMART goal, into our OKR philosophy. The SMART goals ultimately are about getting more specific and getting really clear on what each goal is, and obviously here you've got the breakdown of what each letter stands for. Right, specific meaning it's well defined, it's detailed, it's meaningful, it removes ambiguity, and it's possible by answering the who, what, why, where of the goal. And so I encourage you, even with your objective, though we're saying that it shouldn't be measurable because the key results are measurable, your objective is qualitative, we encourage you to be specific with your objective. Your objective should be measurable. So while you're writing it, it should have clear key results that can actually be put into it. If you cannot identify key results for a specific objective, and the key results are all binary, then we're not looking at the right piece, because the binary, if it's a yes or no, did you get it done or not, those are initiatives. Those aren't key results. We have to keep searching for an actual key result, and we might realize that objective simply itself is not an overarching objective, but it is only an initiative in a larger objective that we can actually place it under. And so we kind of look at things that way because it needs to be measurable. Attainable here, yeah, you need to assess whether your team actually has the necessary skills and resources to achieve the goal. Obviously, having 100% growth month after month is not always realistic once you've hit a certain saturated point. Maybe early on when you're really exploding, it's possible, but making sure that your goals are attainable and that you have the right team for it. You might realize that, well, we need some additional talent, we need some additional people and training in order to get there. Is it realistic, right? Are we actually able to achieve these goals in a realistic time fashion? And then are they timely? Is there a time frame? Is there a target deadline? That needs to be clear in the objective, right? Are we actually able to accomplish it by a certain date? What's the date? What's the timeline? Key results look a certain way here. Key results are what's going to help you achieve your objective. And so you'll want 2 to 5 key results per objective. Ensure they're measured, they're quantitative and value-based. Key results must clearly indicate whether an objective was achieved. And to help create more clear-cut boundaries to ensure your key results are measurable, make sure they're numerical and value-based, right? That's why it's important to remember why key results are a measure of work done, not the work itself. For example, create a new web page is work. Increasing a web page views by 5% is a key result. Ultimately, key results are meant to quantify the success of overall objective. Remember that quantifying piece is essential in this aspect, as that will set up your work with necessary feedback loop that can help gauge the progress of your efforts towards the objective. Once we have our key results, we've done our objectives, we've done our key results, it's now to assign those key results to an owner. While an objective belongs to the whole team, the owner is responsible for tracking its progress. So, for example, Mary is an account manager in a sales team, and the sales team is led by Peter. So Peter, as a manager, has committed to increasing existing accounts by 20% for the quarter, and he's communicated this to the team. However, he's not assigning tasks directly. Mary now knows the target, but her tasks are not specifically assigned. So she has a degree of autonomy. She can now decide what she will do to be able to hit her task. So she could decide that she's going to expand on key accounts by talking them to at least twice a month, or she could decide to try to expand smaller accounts, thinking this is where the most room for growth is. In this case, Mary should create her own OKRs, even though she's an individual contributor. And the reason for that is it gives Mary an autonomy to create her own plan and effort. Then the last piece to OKRs is review. This is the most important part. There is nothing more powerful than, even in my own teams I've seen, when we've shifted to weekly reporting, where we report weekly on our OKRs, where we get everyone to in our team to show their scorecard on a weekly basis. How have we moved these measures forward? What it does is it brings everyone back to thinking about the objectives consistently. Now, typical OKR scoring is from a 0 to a 1, right? 0.3 is you missed the mark, 0.7 came very close. Number 1, you knocked it out of the park. Maybe we can go harder in the future. And, we use a 0 to 1, but you can use a 1 to 10. I mean, it plays the same role here. But the idea is that it gives you a measure, and it's not binary of it, we did it or we didn't. And we add up all the OKRs there in terms of get ourselves a final score to see how our team actually did. So there you have it. I took you very specifically through OKRs as a fundamental framework on how we can align our teams.